I'm sorry, Michael. Instagram is not wanting to work at the moment. Give me a second, folks. There we go. That's what I need. Nope, it's not wanting to work. Give me a second or I'll abort it. I'm going to abort Instagram for the moment. All right. All right, folks, welcome back. I am Coach Dennis Stoika with Modern Era Warriors. Once again, we have an amazing podcast. Something very special about today, actually, is that we have Mike Ostrolenk here. And Mike will now be the first person that I've had on board, which is actually already been on the podcast. And so, Mike, you might have been my first. If not, I'd have to go back and look. But I think you were the first person that I ever had on my podcast. In podcast 1, we're at podcast 36.
Nice.
I'm up to 36 in I don't know, like 4 years. So we're averaging whatever 9, 10 a year. I try to do one a month. People cancel, things of that nature. But hey, I'm not going to go too crazy into Michael's background. I'll let Michael talk a little bit about himself as well if he wants to go a little bit deeper dive. But Mike's got over 30 years of dedicated expertise. He's committed to helping guide individuals like yourself that are watching today, or anyone later that's watching this right in the replay, navigate their life's complexities, turning their dreams into reality, right? And so in addition to that, he specializes in providing tools, strategies, practices, and support, right? Which helps propel you toward life, right? And relationships, and all the things that you want to achieve. So together, we'll uncover the keys, right? You and him, if you get some coaching with him or take some courses with him, things of that nature, when he does things that he does, he unlocks your inherent power. He cultivates a more fulfilling life for you. And if it's time for you to embark on your journey of self-discovery and transformation, right? That's what I'm really big into, making sure that I'm explaining to people the transformation really lately as it goes on in coaching. But Mike is available for you. Mike was one of my coaches to teach me myself. And to this day, those strategies, tools, and practices are a huge piece of how I actually perform when I show up on a daily basis with my clients as well. Michael, thanks so much for being here. Happy holidays too.
Hey, thanks, Dennis. It's so cool to come back.
Yeah.
It's neat to think that I was maybe one of your first guests as well. That's awesome.
Good to go. So, hey, we bring like-minded people on. Overall, I've had coaches on. I have had martial artists on. I've
Nice.
had some people, a doctor or two. I want to get more involved in doctors and nutrition, things like that moving forward as well. And by the way, Michael helps me get podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So people that are awesome, he's like, hey, you should interview so-and-so too. So it's awesome. Keep that up as well for me. I appreciate it. But we're going to dive in. A lot going on. And I'm interested in a couple of these questions too, because I'm involved with Michael. And I don't know. Michael probably doesn't have all the answers either, but I don't have all the answers. So, but we're going to dive in today a little bit to Michael's really tan because he's living down south these days, not in Virginia anymore.
Nope.
Here we go. So, Michael, anything else to add on your bio that you want to share with anybody?
Just a couple things that might kind of fill out the story. Transpersonal psychology is my postgraduate. It was my graduate studies. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist out of California. I stopped doing psychotherapy in around 2000. I didn't want to deal with insurance. I've been coaching ever since. I did postgraduate studies in somatic or body psychology. As you know, because we met at SEALFIT, I spent a decade working multiple different programs and projects with Mark over there. And then you also know this too, because we met in DC quite a few times. I spent about 20 years, retired a couple of years ago, doing public policy, a lot of in the national security space too. So like 2 full-time jobs, the coaching, therapy, and then the national security / policy world too.
Michael stays busy, and I can't tell you, it was always a pleasure of mine. Our offices in DC were extremely close, so I always welcome going and having coffee with you as well. So
that was awesome.
Too bad Life moves on. We're both no longer there, so
Exactly.
it is what it is. All right, hey, so I'm going to dive in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I might hit on one or two things that you kind of said in addition to that as we go through some questions. But I like to start out with a lot of the same questions, and it's some questions that you and I pose to our clients as well, just so our listeners can understand who's Michael Ostrolenk, right? So who's
Right.
Michael Ostrolenk? What's your why? Purpose, passion, and principles. Like we start out with everybody, and like I'm not
Right.
looking for the whole 5 minute thing here. You know, I mean, we're longer because this takes people, I mean, a long time to sit with and in silence, right? And part of those tools that we talk about, right? And how we come to this. But the bigger question is kind of a part two to this, and it's you and I mean, we evolve. You're retired. You're not in DC. Relationships change. Work has changed. So if in addition to the why, purpose, passion, principles, how has it changed or evolved as of
Nice.
recent to where you are today?
It's a great question. So let me start in 2000. For people who know the name Ken Wilber, I was part of Ken Wilber's Integral Institute, and I can remember literally I was in Boulder, Colorado around 2000. There's a lake that I was walking around, and that was the walk that formulated the building of my company, Global Integral Solutions. And from that, I created like what I'm here. I shouldn't say I created. I continually rediscovered at that walk what I was here to do, and I saw that I was here to do kind of in three areas, and is what I would say is integrated development for individuals, institutions, and systems with an evolutionary framework in mind. And that's kind of guided my work since then and even previous to then, but I didn't have a framework or a way of articulating it. And the way it's changed has been really interesting because I literally doing public policy work at the national level, which is also
Hmm.
international level because I did a lot of foreign affairs stuff. It was systemic and institutional. I did work with Congress and various federal agencies and dot, dot, dot. So there's institutional and
Hmm.
systemic. Then as a coach and therapist, I work with individuals, couples, and groups. So I covered all three of those things. And when I retired from policy, I'm like, I'm done with the institutional and systemic stuff. That's over. I just want to focus in on my individuals, couples, and groups that I run. That lasted for 4 years, and literally a couple months ago, well, actually a little bit more than a couple months ago, I started a growing interest in reconnecting to the institutional systemic framework. And now, probably into 2025, which is not too far away, I'm probably going to re-engage that world a lot more.
Hmm.
So I've evolved. It's funny because it shrank after 2020, gave me like 4 years of like really hyper focus, which I loved. And I'll tell you one of the reasons I loved it because a typical week I might be on the hill on a Monday morning for a particular series of meetings. And then like in the afternoon, I might be doing some coaching, with individuals or couples. And then the late afternoon, I might be on a call around, counterterrorism strategy in Afghanistan. And then like later on is like, let's do a call on the F-35, whatever. It's like every day was different. And I'd be
Hmm.
jumping from coaching to public policy, back to coaching to public policy. So having 4 years off of the public policy was nice because I got to just focus on the coaching, which is really, really cool. But the evolution, I've grown back into those interests, and we'll
Hmm.
see where it takes me in 2025. But ultimately, like the larger framework is like I see what's possible for individuals.
Hmm.
I see what's possible for couples. I see what's possible in institutions and systems as well.
Awesome. I know
Yeah.
you got back into the couples thing, like a little more deeper dive a few years back too. So hey, I did not jot this question down, and there are always sample questions and meant to, and you just triggered it. So I will ask, and it might be a little premature in the questions, but what does a perfect day look like for you?
That's a great question. I love that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. So
Because you got your hands on multiple things. So
I
yeah.
do. I do. I
Yeah.
love that question. So presently, like you asked me, probably a year from now it might be different, but presently,
Mhm.
I get up between 5:30 and 6. And it's really funny because like the last couple of months, I've given myself permission to sleep in. So I sleep until 6, but sometimes I'm up between 5:30 and 6. And I start training around 6:30. And between 6 and 6:30, I have, a series of AM rituals, things we've talked about forever, of
Mhm.
things that I do to get myself ready. Gratitude practice and some meditation and some movement practices. I shared with you a while ago, like dance, to kind of get the energy of the body moving, all that kind of good stuff. And then I train one or two things: either go to the gym and follow Will Ravello's program because he programs
Mhm.
me, or I'm rucking. So every other day, I'm either at the gym one day doing whatever I'm doing based on Will's program, or the next day I'm rucking around town here. I'm in Austin,
Awesome.
Texas for now.
Yep.
Come back. I do all my protein powders and drinks and all my potions I got to do post workout.
Sure.
I would shower, and then I'd have breakfast, and then I'd spend about an hour doing all my social media stuff. Like posting my content, commenting on stuff, all that kind of good stuff.
That takes
And then
work. It does.
oh my God, dude,
Yeah, it does.
it
Yes,
does,
it
man.
does.
Yeah, like because I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, so it takes a long time to do all this stuff. And then I do about an hour of study. I'm in a program of study, so I study the certification program I'm in, and then I'll have lunch, and then I usually will have between 1 and 6 is client work. Like either couples or individuals. As you know, JC Glick and I co-lead a men's group. We have some time off between cohort number 1 and 2. Once we launch cohort number 2, that'll take up some of the time every week. That's literally every day. And then the evening, dinner, and then I'll do meditation practices. I'll do some journaling practices. I'll continue to study. And then on occasion, I'm like, dude, I need a break from all this inner work and inner study. And like, okay, I'll watch a show that I like, which is really funny because like there's like 3 shows that I watched, and all like the same. I watch it over and over again.
What's one show, Michael?
What's that?
What's one show?
So SEAL Team is one of my favorite shows. I've seen it a zillion times. It's usually like background because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
And I'm digging Lioness right now.
Cool.
And I was sick recently, and I was like spending a lot of time in bed, and I can't really think about stuff. So I found Person of Interest.
Cool.
Which is really interesting because it's from 2012, but it's pretty much like the surveillance state that's been created.
Sure.
And as you know, I spent quite a few years on the civil libertarian side of public policy, arguing against patriotic powers and real ID and secure flight. So to see like the fictionalization, which is probably not fiction, it's probably factual, of what's possible that the federal government and private industry has to track us over time and space is pretty fucking scary.
So I'm going to go there. Do you own a TV or do you watch it on the computer? Because I don't own a TV. Awesome.
Yeah, the place I'm renting right now.
We are rare breed.
Yeah, so it's really funny. Yeah. Literally, the place I'm renting right now, there's a huge big screen TV right here. I've turned it on one time in 8 months.
Yeah.
And I turned it on one time because I just want to make sure it works.
Good to go. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, let's move on then. You kind of hit on 1 or 2 things already with JC Glick, but what are your businesses? I mean, because you have your hands in multiple things. Coaching, therapy work, couples coaching. I know, again, I know someone that took training with you from the same place or from you during their coaching program. A good friend of mine too, from a long time back in high school, actually. You're working with JC. I know you're always out there working with others. You're traveling to Canada, or you're doing this or that throughout the United States, participating in people's events that they're having, right? So you have your own podcast as well. There might be other things that you're doing that I have no idea what you're doing, and then there's going to be some questions about team. Yeah, so
I'll walk you through the 6 things that I know that I'm doing, and God knows what else I don't remember what I'm doing right now.
Sure.
Yeah, so I've created a kind of an integrated whole person development program on resilience, and it's a 6-month program. So I offer that for individuals. You mentioned my couple work. I have a 6-month program for couples that I walk them through. Also on resilience, it has 3 pillars. My individual program has 4 pillars. The JC Glick is Resilience Optimized. We call it Resilience 2.0. So we have this men's group that we run. Team Fudoshin, which you're a plank owner of. That's also a project we got going on, which is awesome. And yet to be launched yet, but Will Ravello and I, Will, he's former Army Special Forces. We're going to be launching a men's group probably late this coming next year. And it's more modeled after cool tactical training, like survival training, hand-to-hand combat, which you're going to be part of. Close quarters combat, medical training, tactical medicine, those kind of things, but contextualized in a men's group as well. So you'll get didactic and group work as well as individual kind of developmental work, but it's all around the tactical stuff, which is a lot different than the work that I do with JC.
Yeah. JC, are you probably looking for a younger client too, or
what's that?
Are you looking for younger clients, like younger men for the JC's group, or no?
Oh yeah. So Man, I'm trying to think. The youngest guy we had in our last cohort was 31.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, it's really bringing up men. Like for a while there, I had parents reaching out to me, "Hey, can you work with my son? He's in his 20s, whatever." So I've been working with some young men these days too,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm finding to be really rewarding for me, but really interesting, kind of culturally speaking, to
Mm-hmm.
find that they're a whole different generation. Obviously, they're a different generation than us, but a completely different mindset and a lot of more different problems than we faced when we
Mm-hmm.
were young. It's
Interesting
really
too.
interesting to work with.
I wonder how and if, right, coaching will change to meet that client too, right? I thought the clients were a little bit younger with JC. I thought they were like in 20s or something like that,
Mm.
18 even. Something that I can chat about or have you back on another session even to talk about strategies, tools, and practices and how maybe they work or don't work, right? From someone who's 60 to 90 versus 20 to 30. I don't know. So awesome. Hey, Team Fudoshin,
Yeah, man.
more of a mindset, right? A way of being. There's a specific definition. I don't know if the definition that I wrote down that I shared with you is sufficient, but I wrote down rooted in ancient martial arts philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Fudoshin is the practice of cultivating inner calm, unwavering focus, and resilience in the face of adversity. It's about maintaining composure and clarity no matter how chaotic the environment becomes.
Yeah.
If there's one word out there that is just like goosebumps jump on your skin, right, all through your body, I mean, I think this fits it. So it is amazing. There's a lot packed into that definition for to coach someone and to kind of like be that's my stand, that's who we are.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the group, Fudoshin, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And Michael, I don't know if that just like, like you fell down, you hit your head, you bumped your head, you woke up from a dream. I don't know what made this come to you, but it's an amazing definition. It's an amazing word.
Well, I can
Um,
actually share with you the story of where the term Fudoshin came from for me personally.
okay, awesome.
Yeah, so you and I share a deep interest in the martial arts
Hmm.
and a lot of combat-oriented arts as well as traditional martial arts. And 2 falls ago, I reached out and I met a guy. His name is Simon, and he studied ninjutsu, not Teenage Ninja Turtles ninjutsu, but like, he actually studied in Japan
Hmm.
for I think 5 years under Masaki Hatsumi, that system. And I reached out to him and I had a conversation with him, and I was like, I'm less interested right now at this time for hand-to-hand combat. Like I've done a lot of that stuff. I love that stuff. I have plenty of outlets for that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I'm much more interested in kind of spiritual development through the martial arts. That's where I want to be. I want to make sure that I'm not operating from ego, but I'm operating from spirit or soul or heart, or wherever you want to characterize it, both in life, but also specifically if I ever have to use these kind of tools and techniques to protect my friends, family, and myself in whatever situation I find myself in. I don't want to act out on anger or fear or insecurity, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So he trained me for many, many months, and he introduced me to the term Fudoshin. And I was like, it just like the minute I read about it, it just landed deeply inside of me because that literally is a great Japanese word to describe the work that I've been attempting to do for myself and others, literally my whole life. You know my story since I was 9, but at least professionally for almost 30 years. I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, man, this is awesome.
I think it meets who I am as an individual too, right? And
Oh
my
yeah,
business.
yeah,
And I think my clients would definitely say so as well, right? And it's one of these things where I don't do it often as I should, but refocusing on not just your individual why, who I am, right? The philosophy, your stand, but reevaluating even the business, right? That you and I have, and are we still
mhm,
meeting it for that? Are we still meeting these things and who we are,
100%.
and to be able to explain that to somebody as well, right? Because your stand shouldn't just be as an individual. The stand should be with the business or a group or like the men's group. Like this is our stand. This is what we're here for,
Yeah,
right? And so we should be able to, and everybody in the group should be able to. Maybe it's not coming out that perfect, like as a definition, but that someone asks, "What is that?" Right? You should be at the elevator speech at least be able to tell someone what it is. So hey,
Well, and it also goes to eating your own dog food.
Yeah.
It's always a
Hmm.
constant reminder because I can always check in with myself as you can with yourself. Am I operating from this philosophy? Am I shaky within myself? Have I lost confidence? Am I
Hmm.
insecure? Am I operating out of fear? And you talked about, you didn't use the word VUCA, but a VUCA, okay, you said chaos, but it's
Yep.
contextualized as VUCA. VUCA environment. Like we literally are living in a VUCA environment between politics and technology and cultural shifts and what's happening in the world geopolitically. So much craziness is going on in the world. Like, how can you remain centered within that, and not even
Hmm.
make it smaller than that? How can you remain centered, calm, cool, and collected in your marriage or in your partnership, in your workspace with your friends and colleagues? Like all those places are really important for us to operate from that
Hmm.
place.
100%. I'm gonna throw a couple extra things in there just because I think there are a couple key words that I think are thrown around a lot when we talk about Team Fiducian too, right? It's the to be unshakable,
Yeah.
to be unshakable. So whether that's to me, I look at that, Michael, as having an offensive mindset.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not just in defense mode. I'm not
Yeah.
waiting for things to happen. I am making it happen. So that's me. That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
that's a, that, and I'm going to ask
I
you in a
love it.
second. I'm going to ask you a little bit what it means to you. That's another
Mhm.
question coming up. But to me, it helps me be offensive where I'm not. And my martial arts defensive, right? We're defending, but it's to me it allows me to be proactive, right? So and then a lot about the pillars and things that we talk about in coaching too, right? So I believe it builds not just it to be unshakable offensive mindset, but to me, it's also about having unshakable bonds, whether that's bonds with your own strategies, tools, and practices, that daily discipline, or it's that relationship that you have with yourself, or that relationship that you have with others, or the relationship that you have with your community. But and then the last piece is I would say all that makes the immovable mind that is my stand. That is who I am. This is who the group is, right? This is what our relationship is. It's immovable, right? And so, but I'd like you to maybe tell me and everyone else that's listening, what does fiducian mean to Michael? That's the definition. So what I just explained a little bit too. What does it mean to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And let me give some context for people like, what is this Team Fudishin thing? So,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mentioned you're already a Planko, and it's like, well, okay, what
Yeah.
is this thing? So
Yeah.
we put together this team of really cool people. Like pretty much we have members all across the country. We have a couple of members in Canada now. And the idea was like, let's get together and do really hard things as a team. And you and I share so fit in common, unbeatable mind and stuff like that. And the ethos there is like teamwork is so important. You're a member of a team, and that physicality is one way to enter into growth and development. It's a way to test emotional resiliency and mental toughness and capabilities and stuff like that. So Team Fudishin is guys and gals coming together to do really hard things for a couple of different purposes. One is a community. It's like a tribe. It's like really like let's do really cool shit together. That's awesome. And support each other and hold each other accountable and network with one another. And it's also because we're doing hard challenges together, it's a way for personal growth and development, but it's contextualized in the team. And I think we've talked about this. I did Kokoro camp, and I remember like I think it was Brad McLeod. It might have been one of the SEALs, and I think it might have been Brad. He was crushing one of the. This is when I was working for SEAL Fit, so I was supporting the cadre. I wasn't doing Kokoro camp at this time, but I was just watching the SEAL cadre crush this guy on the beach. And they're crushing this guy on the beach because he was egoic. It's all about him, and he's a tough dude. And he can make it.
Hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. And the minute he realized he's part of a team, and he went to go help his teammates, they would stop going after him because he learned his lesson. And that was like really light bulb. Like you being a part of a team, get your eyes off yourself and help your teammates is
Hmm.
a really beautiful thing. So Team Foodish is an opportunity to do real hard things in a team for your own personal growth and development, contextualized as being part of a
Hmm.
tribe. And I love the offensive mindset, going back to like your question. It's like how can I stay resilient in myself no matter what's going on around me or even inside of me? Like, dude, I mean, we did the rucks together. Like, your feet hurt, your knees hurt, you're bitching inside your fucking head. Like, like all the stuff after like dozens and dozens of miles, you're like, this fucking sucks. All the self conversation, your body hurts. So it's not just the chaos around you want to be able to deal with. It's like, how do you deal with the chaos inside of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Despite the mental chatter, despite the physical discomfort and pain, like how do you remain resolved and centered in oneself moving forward? And you
Mm-hmm.
gave me great advice. You're like, one step at a time, man. That's literally. And the offensive mindset is perfect. Like literally, your mind is like, I'm going forward, I'm going forward, I'm going forward. And yes, you might need to. And I'm not speaking to the Go Ruck itself, but you might need to adapt. So maybe you need to go left or right, but you're always moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's again some of the other coaching tools, whether it's Worm or something else that you guys, you have something else that I recently put out on social media. It's basically the Worm. You guys refer to it as something else with breath and some other things involved with it, right? But um, so everyone that's watching understands too whether that VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, right? The world that we live in, or within ourselves as well. So this leads to the next question then, which is, what would light your hair on fire in 2025, the next 12 months, for Team Fudoshin? Like if Team Fudoshin achieved this within 2025.
Man, I would. Kind of spilling the beans. We're in early conversations with a particular hotel in a particular state, in a particular nice part of a state, to possibly partner with them to host events at their place. They'd store people, they'd house people, they'd feed people, give us an opportunity to go do really cool stuff out in nature, and also do some trainings inside their facility. I would love opportunities like that domestically first here in the United States, but by 2026, like we're being invited internationally to put on events in other countries,
Yeah.
either on our own, like Team Fudoshin is doing them, or in partnership with other organizations. I mean, we have some friends who are part of veteran organizations, for instance. It'd be really cool to, I don't want to name
Mhm.
them, but it'd be really
Yeah.
cool to partner with them and put on events, or
Okay.
to work with a corporation to help put on events for their corporate members.
Mhm.
Things along those lines would be really, really cool.
I,
Take this
I
idea and spread it out in the globe.
I think that's awesome, right? I mean, we're just starting out small,
Yeah,
doing some. They would be partner events to technically, right, or other people's events, but
yeah, for now. Yeah, yeah,
for now, I think having an opportunity to do some of the things creation from the
yeah.
coaches that we have involved, right, martial artists or
Like
experts
you.
and
Yeah.
experts in the field, firearms, military, a lot of amazing people around us too, but
Actually,
also.
most of them are like you. They're former military, and we have some law enforcement. A couple of crazy civilians in there too.
Correct, right? But awesome, Michael, reaching out to the corporate world, right, for us too, for sponsor purposes, and having
Yeah,
some
yeah.
conversations with just like can we do things for or other interested folks at corporations, Canada and other places too that might want to bring something like this mindset. So all right, we're a little short on time. We're almost there already, so I'm going to kind of just hurry up. Is there anything? I mean, I don't know, within the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, how would you like to see Fudoshin grow?
Man, so I'd love to see Team Fudoshin be an international, like a meme that in and of itself isn't important. Like I love for Team Fudoshin to be a major
Mhm.
player in the space, but just the idea of Fudoshin being driven to other organizations, other institutions globally
Yeah.
as what's possible for us as human beings, that we really could have this offensive mindset. We really can remain calm, cool, and centered. We really could deal with our challenges
Mhm.
in this kind of more holistic and
Yeah.
comprehensive and front side focused way. That would be awesome.
You need to start using that offensive mindset. You don't have to say it came from me. I think it's a good part of it. Hey,
Nice.
all right. So I'm gonna ask you to get through the next couple of questions a little
Yeah, man.
quick, but you and I are not 20 years old anymore. All right.
Wait, what?
As our bodies tell us that sometimes, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, good. Hey, there's areas I'm stronger than I was when I'm younger, but I'm slower, right? So there's
Well,
going to be
you
times
also, dude, man,
I'm
you packed on
lifting,
some size since I've seen you last. Yeah,
lifted a lot of heavy weight over the
yeah,
last almost 3 years now, right? And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
and how I lift. So programming as a coach, right? It just like you're taking that hour of the day to do some of that type of programming too. I understand, right? So um, knowledge is power, right? The amount of information that we have today compared to the 1980s. I mean, it's been a long
Mhm.
time. So we better know what works or doesn't work. So that leads me into the question, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
tell us about what you're doing to stay young, and die young as old as possible is what I love to
I love
refer to
that. I
it
love
as,
that.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Healthy, being physically fit, right? And
yeah,
not just physically, but mentally as well, right? That, and I'll throw it out a couple things, right? I mean, eating your dog shit, you got to do the work, right? You got to discipline, committed every
yeah.
day, right? In every
100%.
way.
Yeah.
And for me, it's I got this from you years ago. I started seeing the doctor, right? And I promote that within my coaching practice now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't care how old you are, but the regenerative medicine is a thing. Rethinking medicine is a thing. The science and art of longevity to live
Mhm.
longer and better is a thing today. And not every doctor you go to is a regenerative doctor.
No, no.
So you've got to find the right person who believes in this, right?
Yeah,
They're
100%.
not old school doctor, nurse, etc., right? But and I would argue, right? So part of that regenerative for the physical and mental also leads to relationships, bonds, and community to live a happier life, right? It's not just to me for the regenerative piece is not just the physical and mental, but to me it's also about community and balance in our relationships, bonds that I have with myself and others, right? And to live a happier life too. Go ahead, Mike.
100%. Yeah, so I was really fortunate. I worked for years. Dan Stickler, Dr. Dan Stickler, and Michael Hamilton here in Austin at Apeiron Zoe, and he's a
Yeah.
longevity doctor, and they have an amazing clinic here that I spent about almost 4 years working with their medical clients, and I
Hmm.
taught in their epigenetics academy. So that was a great basis for understanding epigenetics and health and comprehensively. And I'm still in contact with them, and I love them.
Awesome.
And so, like, in terms of like my day-to-day kind of like holistic approach to my own health and well-being and longevity. So Restore, there's restores I know in Virginia. There's one literally across the street. So I do my cryo there, I do my sauna there, I do my compression, my red light stuff there as
Therapy,
well.
sure.
There's a clinic that I belong to called Dyson, just down the street as well, and I get my IVs there.
Nice.
So like I literally every week I'm doing something in terms of rest and
Hmm.
recovery. And then I work with Dale Foster and Leanne Foster. Dale's a neurofeedback expert, so I have like neurofeedback device literally right over there. I
Yep.
use every day to keep my brain healthy. And then I use Leanne gave me EMPF device,
Yep.
frequency
Hmm.
device that I use for healing different organ systems. So and the clinic, Dyson clinic I belong to, they do blood work every 3 months.
3 months.
So
Wow.
so I can see where my blood is, and it's very comprehensively.
Mhm.
And then they had me on like peptides and nutritional
Yep.
supplements and particular diets, and we modify them over time based on what my
Yeah.
blood sugars.
Worth it 100% to have a
100%.
doctor and a partnership with a team of people. It's not just
Yeah,
a person there. So awesome. All
yeah.
right, Michael. Do you have anything that you have not really shared with anyone or many people that you would like to come out today to discuss? Perhaps wanting to do some secret squirrels type stuff, learn some uh, skills and abilities that are maybe unique in order
Yeah,
to maybe focus on other crazy
yeah,
aspects of helping
yeah,
people, maybe not as coaching or therapy work, but
yeah.
like human trafficking or anything else. Because I know there was some kind of conversation about that one time. Like I
Yeah, you
want
just
to
called me
do
out.
some
Okay.
cool secret stuff, and I want to go help people, in another way. I
All
thought it
right.
was cool. So it came
Yeah,
back
no,
to
I
me.
appreciate
I'm
it.
like, hey, I want to see if I can
Yeah.
get something to talk about something.
No, I appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
this. I'm trained as a PPS, a personal protection specialist. Haven't done that work in many, many years.
Mhm.
And the sex trafficking thing should bother everyone. It definitely bothered me. So, 2 years ago, when I was before I hit the road, I've been nomadic for almost 2 years now. I'm stationary in Austin, Texas, for a little while, but I was pretty much nomadic for a year and a half almost. Prior to that, I was in conversation with some groups about possibly joining and seeing what I could do to be helpful in that space. And I was told, hey, you need some certain trainings. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do some trainings. And we have some mutual friends who tier one operators, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah. So I'm like, okay, I'll do some training. So yeah, I did some counter surveillance and surveillance training and gun stuff, tactical, all kinds of cool stuff in preparation for doing some of that work eventually. Then I hit the road, which made kind of the training a little bit more challenging. But interesting enough that you bring this back up, because now I'm stable here for a little while. I'm trying to get my license from Virginia transfer. It's not really a transferred, but my PPS activated here.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to lead me to more of this training capability. Because
Cool.
training in and of itself for that work, but also for what you're talking about. So in time, and part of this is also various hand-to-hand combat trainings and more surveillance training and counter surveillance training.
In your seventh job. It's also about finding time, right? It is also about finding time too, and direction and some purpose and things of that nature too. But
it really is. Yeah. And being on the road, like you know this, I spent a month in Ecuador. It's kind of hard to do tactical training with people up here in the States when I'm down in Ecuador.
Yeah.
Or I'm spending time, in various locations. It's no excuses. It's just the facts on the ground.
I'm going to go there real quick too, right? Because there was I mean, this is awesome of being retired, like semi-retired. We're both.
Dude, how can you say you're semi-retired? You work more than anyone else I know.
I have a paycheck that comes every month, Michael. I'm retired. It's awesome, right? So, my point is, you left everything and you went away for a month. I mean, you didn't, because your business is also, you can take it with you, right? But I mean, one of the hardest things I think that people, for me, when I was being coached too, is that, oh my God, I can't do that. It's 2 weeks long. I can't go to a 2-week yoga program. It's 2 weeks. I need to leave everything for 2 weeks. Like, how's life going to function without me for 2 weeks, right? So it's about coaching in general, right? About identifying fears and realities and change and what is possible, right?
And finding the courage to go do it anyways.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So, hey, our time, we're beyond. So, anything else you want to share today? And please let people know how they can contact you, your website, any other information you want to push out, and even Team Fudoshin, social media, etc.
That'd be awesome. Michael D. Ostrolenk, OSTROLENK.com. That's my website. Find my individual work and my couples work. Resilience Optimized. You can Google that. You can find the men's group that JC Glick and I run through that. Team Fudoshin, Google that. You find the Team Fudoshin website. Sign up for our newsletter. And then I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. M Ostrolenk on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Spend way too much time on Instagram. Dennis and I see each other there all the time.
That's all good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Michael, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate you. Love seeing as much as we can of you when you are here too, right? Occasionally coming in and out. But I will say this, right? So, and I'm biased, but the type of coaching that Michael does is unique. It is not some coaching programs only want you to coach. They do not provide strategies, tools, practices. There's not really discussion back. Sometimes it's literally more like therapy. Right? And so the programs that Michael pushes, that I push, right, very integrated. We walk beside you to get you further along faster, right? To help you to get to where you need to be. So it's there's self-discovery, but we're not holding back on things that we know that work for ourselves over our lives, right? And things that work for other clients or other groups that we're part of, et cetera. So if you're interested, look up Michael, et cetera. So, hey, Michael, hang on for us. We'll chat for a minute or two afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, everybody, you know the deal, right? So until next time, thank you so much for being here. But train hard, train smart, train safe, train real, and train for life. We'll see you in the next podcast. Take care, everybody.